Hey everyone, it's Book Crazy Katie, and today's video is August wrap-up and September TBR. Hey everyone, it's Book Crazy Katie, and today's video is my August wrap-up and maybe a little bit of a September TBR, if we'll loosely call it that. And so, in the month of August, I read 8 books, kind of. You'll see what I mean. So, the first book that I finished in August was barely finished it, like had, maybe like 50 to 100 pages or something left of it, and it had expired in the month of July a couple times while I was reading it because it was a library loan. Is The Magicians by Lev Grossman, which was a story about Quentin Coldwater discovering a school called Breakbills, which is a magical school, and it's been said to be like an adult Harry Potter. And unfortunately, I did not really care for The Magicians that much, and you guys have probably seen my review of it, or you can check it out, review, rant, whatever you want to call it. But I don't want to spend too much time talking about it because I've already talked about it in that and in my 24 and 48 vlog. So I'm going to move on to the next one, but that was the first book I finished in August, so it was finishing something I had started in July. And the second book I read was Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. I do not have that book anymore. I gave it to a friend because anytime, like for the most part when it comes to books, I get rid of books after I read them. I don't try to hold on to them unless I really like them and feel like I'm gonna read it again. And I've even gotten rid of reads, like books that I think are 4 and 5 star that are rated 4 and 5 stars, just because I personally feel that I might never read it again, or it's going to be a really long time before I read it again, and so I don't want to hang on to it and have it collecting space, have it taking up space when I could get a book I haven't read, or have room for books that I would like to keep, because I do feel that they'll have more value to me in the future. And I feel like with Charlotte's Web, I enjoyed it. You guys probably seen the movie if you haven't read the book. It's a children's novel that is about a pig growing up on a farm and a spider who becomes his best friend and helps save him because he learns that he's going to die and he's terrified of dying. So Charlotte ends up helping save him and enlists other barn animals to help with it, including Templeton the rat. And so it's a really cute story. I feel that the movie did pretty good justice, and when I say the movie, I mean the animated movie. I never watched all of the live action movies, so I'm not sure how closely that one follows the story. And then the third book I read this month, I actually do have a physical copy of it, and it's probably something I'm going to keep even after I finish reading all the books in it. And that is Madeline L'Engle's Wrinkle in Time series, and I finished the second story, A Wind in the Door, which takes place a little bit after the first story. I'm not sure how much time has passed, but I'm trying to remember exactly what happened. Just give me a moment. Charles Wallace is kind of like not doing too well, and he was having issues in school, and the same teacher that Meg Wallace had, or not Meg Wallace, Meg Murray, because their last name's Murray, his older sister had trouble in school with, ended up at his school, and there's these things called farandole that exist in the body, and he's being attacked, and there's this whole issue of having the name people and stars and stuff, and it was pretty fun, but it didn't pull me quite the same way that A Wrinkle in Time did. If you haven't read A Wrinkle in Time, it's a wonderful novel, or a wonderful children's book, and I would say go and read it, and it's pretty interesting because there's a lot of tesseracting, which is like some kind of time traveling, and this big old it, like all-knowing it that is trying to take over everything and control things. And Meg and Charles Wallace and I can't remember the third character's name. My friend Calvin, I want to say his name is, try to save time and, you know, save the earth and find their dad and stuff. It's pretty cool. Even though there is a religious connotation with this series, it's still pretty good. And eventually I'll get to the third one. This isn't really a novel or like a book I can take with me to work, and like it would just be too much to carry on my back. I walk to the bus stop, I ride the bus, I walk back to from the bus stop, so not that good of an idea and not really practical to carry. I already have to carry a set of knives because I am a line cook and I need the knives to cut things with. And then I finished reading The Longest Stride, which is an audiobook. I've probably been started it like in May or June or something, maybe even before that. And that's by Nicholas Sparks, and it has this two like character arc storyline going on with two different romances. And one of them is an older guy who he's dealing with he got in a car accident and he's having memories of his ex-wife, or not his ex-wife, his dead wife. And what is that noise? Yeah, he's having memories of his dead wife, and she helps to keep him alive for a while, and there's like a time period, I think like a week or something, that passes while he's trapped in his car. And then it follows Sophia, and I can't think of the guy's name right now. Sophia and her love interest, who was this bull rider, and he's in bull riding and he's trying to save his mom's farm, and even though he probably shouldn't be doing it, but I'm not going to go into the reason why. And they have their little love interest, and she has an ex that cheated on her and did all kinds of horrible things, and just kind of an asshole. The asshole that kind of exists in like every Nicholas Sparks story, it seems. And I haven't been giving you guys like my ratings. So with The Longest Stride, I gave 3 stars. The Wind in the Door, I gave 4 stars. I gave Charlotte's Web 4 stars. Maybe if I would have read it when I was childhood, I'd have 5 stars. I would give it 5 stars, but I didn't read it as a child, and the movie holds a more dear spot in my heart than the book does. And it was 2.5 to 3 stars for The Magicians. And then the 5th book I read was this beautiful book I was super excited about, and it was a pretty good book, but not as great as I was hoping, and I have a feeling some of it was lost in translation. And that would be McField's Glacier's The Book Jumper, which is about this girl, Amy Lennox, that her and her mom moved from Germany to this island in Scotland to stay with her grandmother, and her grandmother lives on this island where it's like her family, and another family that has similar like gifts, or the same gift of being able to jump into books or into stories. And it's pretty much just these people on the island, along with some fictional characters from a manuscript that got destroyed several hundred years, or a few hundred years prior. And someone starts taking ideas from stories, and it seems that Amy Lennox is in some kind of danger along with other people that inhabit the island. And Amy tries to figure out what's going on, even when everybody's like, oh, nothing's happening in the books, things aren't going missing and whatnot. And they think that maybe she's messing with the plots in the storyline when things do kind of go awry. And it takes a while for her to convince some people that anything's happening. And so I feel like with this book, things got lost in translation, and one thing I really had struggled with was, for some reason, Amy calls her mom Alexis all the time and never once calls her mom in the book, and it really didn't make sense to me why she was doing that, because she didn't seem to have like a negative relationship with her mom. It seemed like it was overall pretty well and like a pretty good relationship, but for some reason she calls her mom Alexis throughout the whole book, and it drives me nuts. So and that was a 3.5 star rating for me. And then the following book that I read is The Stuff I've Been Feeling Lately by Alicia Cook, and I'd seen some YouTubers talking about this book a few months ago on YouTube, and it's a poetry collection, and it's split into side A and side B, and like on the cover, I read this as an ebook on my phone, which I film with my phone, so I can't even show you like the little, like, I couldn't show you on my phone what it looks like either. But it's this tape recorder, like, sketch, or not tape recorder, tape cassette sketch, and it looks really cool, and it sounds really awesome. However, the poems are mediocre. I've seen better written by, like, high school students, and I feel bad kind of doing that, but I didn't really see that much with, like, where the language just flowed naturally. Don't lean against that, Betty. Where the language just flowed, well, and I was interested enough in the content. It did read really quick. They're pretty short poems. There were a couple that I really did like. And I've been having technical difficulties with this storage space running out, accidentally deleting stuff that didn't need to be deleted, or stuff disappearing. I'm not sure what happened. So, oh, and my alarm went off halfway through my wrap up as it was, and that was the video that disappeared, was the picking up thereafter from it. And so I'm gonna leave off with Stuff I've Been Feeling Lately. Was a poetry collection that I didn't like much. It comprised of two sides, A and B. A was poems in its entirety, and then B was blackout poetry, so she crossed out all the stuff that she didn't want to say and made new poems based off of the existing poems. Unfortunately, it wasn't very well executed, and so I gave it 2 stars. And then the next book I read was Caraval. I listened to it on audiobook, borrowed from Overdrive app. It's pretty fantastic. The hype is worth it. And then the very last book I read in the month of August all the way through is Night Mask, and I technically finished this on September 1st, but I only had 25 pages left, so it's counted in my August thing. I ended up picking this book up because of my boyfriend. It's the only book that he ever picked out on his own and really enjoyed, and it has a lot of crude and lewd humor in it, and it's a detective mystery kind of something else going on with it, but I don't want to give away any plot twists. So I really highly recommend this. It's not the greatest novel ever written, but it's pretty fun at the same time. And then another book that I started in the month of August is Hans Christian Andersen's Fairy Tales. Beautiful book. I really enjoyed some of the stories in it, and Great and Little Claws is one of them that was pretty cool, and it's kind of an interesting story seeing how manipulation worked out and who was the greatest manipulator kind of thing. And Hans Christian Andersen also wrote The Little Mermaid and The Snow Queen, which Frozen is based off of. And then there's also these awesome illustrations in it, and I keep on just going to the one with the bookmark in it because it's easy to find. And then the pages have these pretty little borders. Just a gorgeous book overall. And then for the month of September, I'm going to mostly be reading the Heroes of Olympus series, and I have been enjoying this quite a bit. It's the first book, and I'm like halfway through, and I'm enjoying all the new characters that have been in it so far, and there's not one point of view that I like more than the other. And I also like the portrayal of Annabeth better, and hopefully female characters seem to be a little bit more varied. And then hopefully I get to read some banned books. I'm not sure if the Heroes of Olympus has been banned at all. I know Percy Jackson was. But I'm hoping to read some banned books since there's Banned Books Week at the end of September, and I don't believe that we should be censoring books. Bye everybody, hopefully this works. Alright.